vegetable hacks for broccoli and kale without eating more. What if you could get not double, not triple, not quadruple, but 10 times or more fighting power from these superpowered veggies, broccoli and kale, and it doesn't take any special ingredients, and it just takes a little bit of rearranging of your food prep or enjoying a glass of wine. Would you do it? Well, yes and yes. So what happens here is there's a little chemistry that goes on, and I promise I won't get too deep into the chemistry, but there's a little bit you need to understand. So in these superpowered veggies and in cruciferous, it's unique to cruciferous, so they have these compounds called glucosinolates, and the glucosinolates combine with an enzyme called myrosinase. And when they combine, they make this superpower weapon called sulforaphane and indoles. Okay, so that's all the chemistry we're going to discuss. But here's the thing: the glucosinolates that we need to get in touch with the myrosinase enzyme, they are in separate parts of the cell when they're in broccoli and kale. But when you chop them with a knife, or you blend them, or you chew them, then you break open the cell wall and you expose the myrosinase enzyme to the glucosinolates. So that's good. So then you can form this magical compound, the sulforaphanes and indoles. So that's great. But here's the next catch, and that is that heat destroys this enzyme, myrosinase, and your stomach acid will too. So you need to have this action go on, maximize it before you start to heat, before you chew it and swallow it so it goes in your stomach. So that's where letting it sit for 10 minutes gets a lot of this action going on, and 40 minutes is optimal. So you just rearrange your food prep, do a little chopping up the broccoli, the kale, and then do some other things and come back, so you've got 10 minutes of sitting time. Or you can enjoy a glass of wine. Or you can prep in the morning, look at what you're doing for the evening, and let it sit in the refrigerator, and then you get the maximum amount of this reaction going on. So I have a chart to help understand this. No more chemistry, I promise. And also, if you don't have the 10 minutes to let it sit, then there's another little hack that you can do using mustard powder.
Here's a chart showing the process. We have the glucosinolates that are coming from the broccoli and the kale, and then we chop or we chew or we blend to release that myrosinase enzyme, and voila, we get these superpowers, and they come in the form of the isothiocyanates. And those are really a group classification that encompasses the sulforaphanes that I spoke about and the indoles that I spoke about. So the end products there all produce the slow stop cancer growth, the stop inflammation, the lower LDL, the vision protection, and there's other things that are being researched too. So it's a wonderful superpower that we find in the cruciferous vegetables. Remember, you need to let them sit at least 10 minutes to let this reaction go on maximally before you expose it to heat or before you expose it to your stomach acid. Now, what if you don't have 10 minutes or 40 minutes? Well, that is so true. Many of us don't have the luxury every night when we're preparing meals to have that 10 minutes or 40 minutes. So there is good news. There's a workaround. So go ahead and cook the kale, the broccoli, finish the dish out, and then just before serving, add a 1/4 teaspoon of powdered mustard. A 1/4 teaspoon is good for about 7 cups of broccoli or kale. And what you're doing here is the mustard is a cruciferous vegetable. So you're adding some raw cruciferous, which has the enzyme, because the enzyme isn't destroyed yet, in the raw format. So we know that this works really well. Another way is you could add another cruciferous vegetable, and a common seasoning one is like horseradish or wasabi radish. Or you can just add any cruciferous vegetable, just a little bit in the raw, so you can get that myrosinase enzyme that's so key for this reaction to happen. So here's another diagram to just summarize everything here I've talked about. We've got the glucosinolates plus the chopping that ends up with the enzyme released, and then we can let it rest, or we can heat the dish and just before serving add the mustard powder, Or we can just add a little bit of raw of some type of cruciferous vegetable. And voila, superpowers. Amazing how that happens. I also have a bonus that you can download. It's below the video there, the details on how to download it, where to get it, but it's 10 ways to unleash broccoli and kale superpowers. So it's more specifics on these food prep that I just went through, plus I go a little bit into frozen, what you do for that, and the cooking, what happens there. So don't forget to get the bonus. Look at the details there, download the bonus, and unleash the superpowers of kale and broccoli.
Thank you. Be sure to click the subscribe button. I add videos regularly on powerful eating so you feel amazing and so your body is able to beef up its defenses and fight off disease and illness.